Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm doing another action figure review. Well, I say that, but it's been quite some time since I've done an action figure review, so if I come across really rusty, that'll probably be why. And also, well, primarily because I haven't picked up an action figure in a long time, because obviously the Doctor Who range, well, in terms of action figures, it's pretty much non-existent now, in terms of new releases anyway, and some of the older action figures are a bit more tricky to get your hands of, and whatnot. So, and also, before I fully get into this review, I just wanted to say that this is obviously my first action figure review of 2018, which is pretty bonkers. Anyway, so this is my review of a Rick and Morty action figure, and this is part of a series of Rick and Morty action figures. So there's 5 to collect. There is Morty, Rick, even Morty, Mr. Poopy Butthole, Mr. Meeseeks, Bird Person, and Bird Person. And then if you collect them all, you get a there's a collect and build figure. So you get pieces, as seen here, of Snowball in the mech suit, which is pretty cool. And that, but I'd say the weakest link for me would probably be Bird Person. I'd probably not want to pick up that one, but that's just me, I guess. But yeah, this action figure retailed for £12. I ended up buying it for £12 from a comic book shop in Halifax called Legacy Comics. So if you are ever in that area, maybe you should check them out, and that, because they're really good. Little small sort of independent comic book shop. So yeah, this is the arm. I think it's the left arm of Snowball's mech suit, which is pretty cool. Really love Snowball's mech suit; it's so cool. So yeah, that's going to be cool to potentially build if I get all of the figures. So yeah, the secondary thing that he's got is the gun. Oop, shoot. The sort of semi well-known gun from the show of sorts that he, I think it might be Rick's gun actually, but Morty sometimes seems to have it or steal it, or sometimes have a gun on him, which is kind of ironic considering he's not a character of violence. But I'd say, ironically, like, of the whole figure, I'd say this and probably Snowball's left arm are probably the two things with the most amount of detail and or complexity in terms of the paint applications and or, yeah, the sort of mould and sculpt of the thing. You know, you've got loads of little minor details and that. And then basically with the figure you've got basic articulation, like the arms go out in at the shoulders, or yeah, there, and then the hands are sculpted in a way that I think you can rotate them. Yeah, you can rotate them, but they're sculpted in a way where they can hold something. His head does move full 360 degrees, but it's just sort of one big sort of solid block of a thing. His knees go in and that. I think you can get some foot articulation. I want to say. Yeah, like you can move the foot full 360 degrees, so you can have a sort of like that if you really wanted to for some real weird reason. And I don't think they're on a ball joint either, so the articulation is fairly limited as well. And that for this action figure, and then basically paint application wise, it's fairly simple as well. I think the most impressive thing is the likeness to the character in the face. I think the figures or this one in particular, is fairly basic, as I say. Like, you know, you've got that sort of pinkish flesh colour for his skin, the dark blue for his pants, the white for his shoes, and then the brown, sort of just big brown mould of hair for his hair, surprisingly enough, and then the yellow plastic for his t-shirt. I mean, it looks like who it's based off of and that, and that, I just think for £12 it is quite steep. I think it should have been maybe $9.99 maybe, this one, and then the rest could have been, I don't know, they could have priced them potentially at different rates, I don't know. Granted, I think they all have to have one big price all one sort of price for all of them. And that, so I mean, if you're a massive fan of Rick and Morty, obviously it's a no-brainer to pick this one up, or any of the Rick and Morty action figures. But if you're on the fence about picking this one in particular, I think maybe if you're not a massive fan of Morty as a character, then maybe a pass. And then also I might add that they didn't have a Rick action figure. I think they had Morty, Mr. Poopy Butthole, and Bird Person. So the two they didn't have was Mr. Meeseeks and Rick. Clearly, they must be the two most popular action figures out of the range. And also, I might add that at my more local comic book shop from where I live in Shipley, Narrow Escape, he had, I think, all of them in at one point, and then they immediately, literally, like, you know, a week later, just all gone, pretty much, or a few days later, they were all pretty much gone. So, you know, these are definitely very sought after action figures. So if you really want this one, then go out and buy it. If you're on the fence, maybe buy it. If you're a really dedicated collector of sort of toys, action figures, and sort of nerdy paraphernalia, then yeah, it's a must-have. But and that, because it's, as I say, for the most part, the range as a whole is fairly sought after, and that, so you might as well try and get some of the more lesser wanted characters from the whole sort of thing, and then try and grab some of the more rarer and harder to find action figures, like I might do with the Rick, because I mainly just want Rick and Morty, really, primarily. But yeah, I'd sort of give this action figure maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10. It's very limited, very basic, but it's not the worst action figure I've ever seen. There's been smaller, worse action figures that I've reviewed here on the channel. So yeah, thanks for watching, comment, rate, and subscribe.